Stan Gibilisco here, W1GV, ham radio call sign, Whiskey 1 Golf Victor. Once again from the Nerd Cave, the ham radio shack. There's the 46-inch Sony Bravia LED TV, which serves as a display, one of two displays. Here's another display, connected to a computer, which you can't see, it's behind that display. Connected to ham radio equipment, a transceiver, a ICOM IC746 Pro, a hi-fi amplifier which provides loud sound, sort of like surround sound, filling up the whole room from the ham radio station. I can also, because this is connected to the internet, play my YouTube videos back to proof watch them after I've finished them on this display with surround sound. There you see the current radar, more or less centered on Sheridan, Wyoming. Over towards the right there, just to the left of the Interstate 90 tag, is where I live, and there's some thunder showers moving from south to north, just west of me. So I'm not going to put my ham radio antenna up just now. They could be moving in. 1.878 megahertz AM mode I'm just receiving, and there's some dirty electricity, some noise on that frequency displayed here and again over here. Just a little bit of information of what kind of hardware there is here and what kind of power consumption would be involved with that. You can surmise for yourself. Here is my newest computer. It's a Windows 8 machine. It is a high-end gaming computer, and I got this computer with all this processing power and memory because I needed it to run the video production programs with screen capture and a pen tablet. There's a pen tablet right there made by Wacom, sort of like the Bamboo tablet except bigger. I need it bigger because I'm kind of shaky of hand, as you might already have gathered. If you see any of my videos without stabilization, you'll know. There's the computer. Now this display, I'd like to say just a little bit about it. Well, first about Windows 8. I love the minimalism, but I think maybe they took it just a tad too far. There is the start page. Very handsome, very elegant. That display is an Acer display. I believe it's called a T232HL. Something like that. It's a touch-sensitive display, so I can actually draw on the screen with my finger as I make videos, arrows and circles and things like that. For more fine detail, I would need to use the pen tablet. But all these things running concomitantly demand a rather high-end processor. Of course, I've got lamps. Now, all this is connected to an uninterruptible power supply to keep the power going for a minute or two at least until I can shut everything off in the event that there is a power failure. But I have modified that because all of this stuff draws an awful lot out of that uninterruptible power supply. There it is right there. It's a backups, an APC XS X-ray Sierra 1000. Supposedly 1000 volt amps or about 600 watts. The battery started to go kind of south on that thing, so I decided I was going to ramp it up a bit, and I replaced that battery in there with two automotive batteries in series, because this particular supply needs 26.5 volts from its battery. This pair of batteries provides 25 volts in series with an awful lot more watt hours or ampere hours. But there are some caveats to this scheme, this using automotive batteries. I've done a little research into that, and it is not without its dangers. So I do not recommend that you try this at your own home unless you know exactly what you're doing, and maybe not even then. I just did it because I wanted to see if the hack would work, and in retrospect I wish I had purchased deep cycle marine batteries instead. But all of these connectors, or the wire connections, are all tinned with solder and screwed down tight because at 1000 watts 25 volts, you're going to get 40 amps coming through those connections there, and that's an awful lot of amps. Now, I've tested this thing, and it does work, although it only provides 96 volts because these batteries fall just a little bit short. There's another hazard, besides the possibility that acid could spill out of these batteries, particularly if you tip them over. I don't know how well you can see that thing right there, but that is an electric fan running on low, and it's blowing air across these batteries. There's a reason for that. It's not that they get hot and need to be cooled. It's that in the event of an inadvertent overcharge, hydrogen gas might bubble out in small amounts from these batteries. That's a typical phenomenon with these kind of lead-acid batteries. And if that gas accumulates and then there's a spark, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out exactly what would happen. But if you disperse the air, now this is a well-ventilated room to begin with, because, I'll show you, right up there above this lamp is the intake for the furnace, and that fan's going all the time. So that's sucking air in there and blowing it all over the house. It's dispersing the air. The air comes in through the hallway over there, down from the house, through the stairwell rather, and then through a hallway here. So this is a well-ventilated room to begin with, but with that fan, there's the sign that reminds me of where I am in case I ever forget. That fan will help to keep hydrogen gas from accumulating and presenting that kind of a hazard. So there is my UPS on steroids, as it were, a little hack. Once again, in retrospect, I really wish I had gone to the trouble of purchasing marine batteries, but I'm not asking for a long, deep cycle on these things, and I'm not asking them to provide me with power for an extended period of time, just long enough to shut my stuff down so I can connect the emergency backup generator without having these computers and displays and everything crash on me. But they do demand a lot of power if they're all running at once. And I want this thing to supply enough power to keep this whole nerd cave running for at least 3 or 4 minutes. I have tested it for up to 15 minutes, and it will keep this entire cave running for that length of time, which is plenty of time here. But once again, this particular hack, these batteries wired into a UPS, you need to know exactly what your UPS battery voltage is to begin with. You need to know what kind of charging circuit it has. You need to double and triple check all of the polarities and connections to make sure you put the right wires in the right place so you're not inadvertently backward connecting your batteries or anything. This is not something for neophytes to try. And arguably in some of the other videos I've seen, well, there is this one other video I saw where these people really went into a lot of detail about how to do this. And then they kept telling you not to. And I thought, well, they must think it's really cool or they wouldn't put the video up in the first place. And it is really cool if you know what you're doing and you take reasonable precautions. You shouldn't be in any more danger than you would be just driving to the store. Especially on a Saturday night in Deadwood, South Dakota. I don't even drive in Saturday night in Deadwood, South Dakota. I prefer not to get maimed or killed by a drunken driver. I don't drink, but that isn't going to help me any if I get clobbered by somebody who does. Anyway, that's enough from the Nerd Cave and enough ranting from an old fuddy-duddy who still likes to try some weird hacks, but again with a very strong caution. I do not recommend you do this. Even though I think it's cool, I do not recommend that you do it unless you know precisely what you're doing and you are aware of the risk. Stan Gibilisco, W1GV, signing off.